My name is Courtney Lee, Leigh, Speed. Jackson was my maiden name, and I was born on Central Avenue.
And that was in East Baltimore?
East Baltimore, not too far from the Johns Hopkins Hospital.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, so now you live in Turner Station, and you've been here since the 60s, right?
1960s, yes, ma'am.
And you came here, moved here with your husband, and when you came here, it was flourishing because the steel mill was, right?
No, not right. The steel mill was on the decline by the 60s.
Okay.
The heyday was from the 40s to the 50s. At that time, in the 60s, Turner Station was on the decline for the manufacturing businesses also because General Motors and Western Electric was on the decline also.
Everyone had, it was like self-sufficient, correct?
Absolutely.
So they had their own schooling, they had their own post offices, they had everything that you would need, you would find within here.
Yes, because surrounding communities came to Turner Station in order to get a lot of their supplies. And I can describe how this community was set up by the settlers that came here. The pioneers mostly came from North Carolina, South Carolina, Virginia, and some parts of Maryland. And they set up, I call them the 5 things that describe them, starting with the M's. They migrated here, and they did manufacturing, and they became merchants. And after they became merchants, they had the money in order to purchase the land, and they came to be a medical community. There was many doctors and nurses that were in the community at the beginning. And because it was a medical influence community, they had a lot of their employment at that time was called City Hospital. And then they had the other M was the military. And a lot of the military was trained from World War II and other wars after that. So the other M is the ministries came here, and from the ministries we had many of the merchants had enough money and enough little businesses, mom and pop shops, that the money turned over in this community 8 times.
Okay. And so you are trying to preserve the community.
Absolutely.
And you want everyone to know the history behind this community.
Absolutely.
And the people that came here.
Yes, ma'am.
So what made you want to do this? What started you on this journey to preserve this community?
Okay. I need to show you by a picture of this handsome man I met. And he was the one that proposed, and once we were married, I came to live here in Turner Station. And he was a businessman, tonsorialist. He told me, well, I had to look that word up. Replicate. We replicate the same way that our foreparents did when they came. Tonsorialist is a barber. My husband was a master barber who had a business right next door to this historic confectionery store that it started out to be. And he was an oral historian. When I came, as I took you on tour, he took me to see the many businesses that used to be here in Turner Station. So his name was John Emmett Speed Jr., and he was a master barber. Not only did he help a lot of people because he was a humanitarian, he always would try to train other barbers. And he had some of the children in the community. to help train how to sweep the floor and how to shine shoes.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so what strives have you made to keep up, with his legacy and what he showed you and how he's opened your eyes to open up the eyes of everyone around here?
Tremendous legacy my husband left. Tremendous legacy. In order to maintain the things that he did, once he died in 1978, I used the insurance money, the discretionary part, in order to purchase where we're sitting right now, in the Speed's Grocery Center, which was previously owned by Thomas and Martha Allman, who too were extremely successful entrepreneurs.
Okay. And I know that in 2010, you guys built the multi-purpose center where the old Sowers Point High School used to be. It was a historical building because it was segregated back in the day.
Right.
And now we have a multi-purpose center with a library, a gym, an activity room, and a room where we can hear about the history of Turner Station. Can you tell me a little bit about that and how that became?
Okay, that really breaks my heart because many of us wanted the school not to be raised because it was already built. The multi-purpose center is very good. No qualms about the design, but it is not historic. Because so many of the pioneers had graduated from this school, and so many of the students were such became renowned people, not only here in Turner Station, but all over the world.
You were telling me before that there's another piece of land here that a private-owned company wants to use.
A private-owned company, yes, and for years we had programs on that lot. It's Dundalk in Maine. We had designated to put a museum there, a restaurant, and an all-purpose celebration room, which would not compromise our community for some event going on there 24/7, and which would create over 100 permanent employment positions, not just for the resident of Turner Station, but to outreach. And also the money that they earn would help them put back in the community, like I said, to turn over 16 times instead of 8 times.
Yeah, and so, because we're getting close to the end, what do you have for future plans? Because we want to know how are we going to move forward from here.
Yes, ma'am. Future plans is dealing with 5 R's. So those R's would be to reset this community, repurpose it for it to become a tourist community. And then after we put the money together and see whose home need to be repaired, that's the other R. Restoration of the homes and keeping them in good repair. And then with that, we would have the revenue, not only for our community, but for the federal, state, and county. Our instruction book is the Bible, and if we train our children from birth to the time that they are reborn into heaven, then we can not only have a disciplined community as it was years ago with virtues and values, and we would be a self-sufficient community, not only for Turner Station, but for the world. And the help we are asking for now is 1 billion people bring or send us a dollar. And this would be enough money to repair and restore every home here in Turner Station and reset the businesses.